You are watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Giants, the New York Giants, just started their voluntary workouts today, and Saquon Barkley wasn't there. Dexter Lawrence wasn't there, but Brian Daboll was there, and he spoke to the media for about 20 minutes, and I have 9 or 10 takeaways that we're going to talk about in today's show. If you missed the interview, we'll keep you up to date. We'll inform you on everything that went down. If you haven't yet, hit that thumbs up icon. You love Coach Daboll, hit that thumbs up icon. It was like his birthday 2 days ago. Show the man some love. Happy birthday, Coach. Hit that thumbs up icon. Number one takeaway. It was the first question he was asked about. They said, Brian Daboll, what do you make? Or is it true that Saquon and Dexter aren't here? What do you make about it? We know it's voluntary. Yes, it is voluntary. But Brian Daboll said, to summarize it, he's not fazed about Saquon Barkley or Dexter Lawrence not being there. And what I liked about what Daboll had to say was that he is going to keep his conversations with Saquon Barkley and Dexter Lawrence private. And that's what you want in these high leverage negotiations. You don't want Brian Daboll saying anything to the media that could be used against the New York Giants and hurt their pockets down the road. Daboll talks about team, and we'll talk about that. He reiterated maybe 15,000 times that it is April 17th and that it is voluntary. We got 6 more months until the football season starts. I trust Joe Schoen and this regime. I definitely trust Brian Daboll. They are going to get it right. They had a good first season. I think they made some mistakes, but I think they did more good than bad. Obviously, the Giants made the playoffs, won a playoff game, and I think that there's going to be a learning curve that they're going to do this offseason that makes them and this team better next year. But the number one reason I trust these guys is they are calculated thinkers, and they use analytics. And they know that they can't be emotional and make moves for this roster based off emotion. And there's no need for that. And that's what I'm talking about with Saquon Barkley. You don't need to re-sign Saquon Barkley because he was picked number 2 in the draft, because the fans love him, because there's a whole bunch of 26s at MetLife Stadium. You bring back Saquon Barkley because he's a good football player and he makes your team better. Is there a price point they should not go past? Yes, there is. They should not just give him a blank check, and they won't. They are going to make the decision that is best for the current and the future of the New York Giants. They're not acting out of emotion. I trust Saquon Barkley. I trust Joe Schoen. I also trust Saquon Barkley. But they are going to get a deal done with Dexter Lawrence. I can say that with 100% certainty. Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, I don't know. I do want to start this show off with this. Are you guys worried about Saquon Barkley or Dexter Lawrence not showing up to day 1 of voluntary workouts? No field work. All they're doing is weight room and conditioning stuff. Are you worried? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm not worried at all, to be honest with you. Number 2 takeaway. Brian Daboll said there was a high percentage in terms of attendance at the voluntary workouts. Nobody has come out with names. I've been searching the internet. I haven't found it. Obviously, Saquon Barkley wasn't there. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence wasn't there. But when he uses this term right here, high percentage, that is a good thing. You want the bulk of your team there on day 1 of your offseason program. Does it mean you're winning the Super Bowl? No. Does it mean you're going to be better? No. But I just like the feel of everybody being there and ready and have one goal on their mind. Something else that kind of popped off to me in this media availability, they made changes to the weight room. And the way they got on that question was Patty Traina, who does an awesome job covering the Giants, asked them about, what are you going to do this season different? Are you going to reassess? How are you going to reevaluate and critique yourselves? And they named a whole bunch of stuff. But he went back to making changes to the weight room because the Giants were one of the more injured teams in the NFL last season. I think they did a deep dive on their medical team. I think they adjusted the weight room, the workouts, and everything to get everybody better and more healthy going into the season. And that's why I love this team. They're always looking forward. They're thinking about how to get better. And it may seem like a little thing, reorganizing the weight room, putting more signs on the weight room. But I think that they're really looking at a way to keep this team healthier going on. We'll get to more reactions from the press conference coming up in a second. But I want to give a huge shout out to today's show and sponsor, and that is Zbiotics. I got to be honest with you guys. Sometimes after the Super Chat Paloozas here on the show, I don't bounce back well the next day until I found Zbiotics. Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it most. Drink Zbiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. You can go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. That is zbiotics.com/chatsports. I love the packaging that it comes in. It's cool, slick, and it's very organized. You could see that it keeps each bottle separate, really small, can fit in your pocket. And I also love the fact that it could fit in like a travel case. Say I was going to a bachelor party, you could throw this in the overnight bag and be ready to rock and roll with your homies. You can get 15% off at zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code chatsports at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Zbiotics, for sponsoring today's video. That link is clickable down in the comments and description of today's show. This is probably my favorite thing that Brian Daboll talked about in his media availability, and he's been really consistent about this throughout the offseason. He says, last year is last year. Move on. Nothing we did last year is going to matter this year. Last year's wins, don't count on the stat sheet for this year's wins. He acknowledged the Giants had a good season. He acknowledged that the playoff win was huge, but he also acknowledged that the Giants got their butt kicked by the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year was good. Let's take it to another level, and that's what I love about Brian Daboll. He is going to consistently push this team to be the best versions of themselves. Last year is last year. This year is this year, and the Giants, they need to be better than they were last year. I also thought this was a little bit tricky in what he said. The draft and free agency are intertwined, and I agree with that. The question was, how much of what you did in free agency is going to affect what you did in the draft? And he said they're intertwined and stuff, but I'm of the belief what you do in free agency only matters if you're signing players to multi-year contracts. This is the second year in a row the Giants have signed a lot of guys to one-year deals. I am not letting my draft plan and my draft outlook be changed because I signed Paris Campbell to a one-year deal, or Sterling Shepard to a one-year deal, or Jihad Ward for a one-year deal. If the Giants feel that a player is of the taking and of the value that meets their draft spot on the board, you make the move, no matter who you signed at that position in free agency. Obviously, they're intertwined to be a little bit, but what you do in free agency shouldn't affect what you do in the draft. You win and build through the draft, not free agency. Or if you do, you're going to end up like Dave Gettleman's Giants. I also love that he continues to preach team. Team this, Giants this. It's not individual. It's all about team. He continues to preach that teams win, not individuals, not a collection of talent. You could have the best damn group of people in the world doing anything, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. Doesn't even have to be a sport. You got to be a team. You got to have teamwork. You got to work as one cohesive unit, and he continues to preach that, and I'm a big fan of that from Brian Daboll. Team first, eyes and individuals second. We'll continue to talk more and more about this in today's show, but make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel because we're going to continue to put out videos every day this offseason. We're going to be live for the NFL draft. All 3 days is what it sounds like. I can't wait for that. I'm sweating. I'm so excited. No, the AC is out here at the studios today. So if my forehead's looking a little bit shiny, it's a little bit sweaty. I'm putting in that work. But look, AC or not, we're putting out videos every day. So hit that sub button. We're not soft like another couple of other people out there that wouldn't work through the heat. Let's ride. Number 7, Brian Daboll is excited for year 2 with Daniel Jones. He was asked about year 2. He's like, we're going to add a couple more wrinkles in there. We're going to open up the offense a little bit more. We're going to do a little bit more with Daniel Jones in year 2, and that's what you're looking for out of a quarterback. You come into the first year, you learn the system, you find a way to win. That's what the Giants did. They found ways to win. Let's win now because of Daniel Jones. Let's put the offense and base the offense around what number 8 does and doesn't do well. I'm excited for year 2 Daniel Jones under Daboll and Mike Kafka, and I could tell Brian Daboll was as well. Also, number 8, the Giants are ready for the NFL draft coming up in a week and 2 days. I looked at my watch. It's a see-through watch. You can't see it. But they're ready for the draft. He said they had a whole bunch of draft meetings the last couple of weeks. The Giants are ready. Their boards are set. And they're going to go out there and they're going to select a damn good football player in the first round. Hopefully they do it 10 times. Hopefully we get 10 starters coming out of this draft. That'd be pretty cool. This is the last thing I wanted to talk about in today's show. Brian Daboll is a player's coach. And what do I mean by that? If you're a football player and you play in the NFL, you want to play for Brian Daboll. He puts the best interest of his players at the top of his list of priorities, and it is so apparent when he talks to the media. They attacked him from every angle about Saquon Barkley and about Dexter Lawrence, and it was, we're keeping those conversations private. We're keeping those conversations private. We're doing it for them. We'll do it for them. We're going to do it. We're going to keep it private. You want to play for Brian Daboll, and I just love the answers he gave today talking about Dexter Lawrence and Saquon Barkley being there. He easily could have said, we wish they were here. He didn't. He said every situation's different. We will handle every situation. He said he's talked to Saquon. He said he's talked to Dexter Lawrence, and those conversations will stay private. You got to really love that if you are a player. I want to close the show with this question, though. Vegas just released their win totals for the 2023 season, and they have the Giants at 8.5. Over, under. Sound off. I'm going over. What do you think? Over, under 8.5 wins. Comment that for me down below, and we'll see you next time here on the channel.